What's going on, Axie fam? Elijah here, back with another video. And today I have Theban joining me once again, 1437 from the Meditate team. Thanks for being on the channel.
Well, it's always good to be here talking to the homies. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. We've got some exciting topics to cover. There's some things floating around out there about SLP and what the future holds and what the plan is. And I'm really excited to have you here to give your thoughts, as you were really one who was just talking about what we're going to look at here. We were on a call and you were telling me all these ideas about what would be good for SLP. And so why don't we begin with this tweet, this thread from AK, and we can dissect a little bit of it. And then I'm going to ask you why you had a similar idea to it when we were talking, and elaborate on that, if you will. AK comes out and says, let's talk about the roadmap for Axie recovery. Clearly, there's some economic issues. They're not going to be fixed overnight. This ends up being a long thread, but he gets into SLP right away, the 3-to-1 mint to burn ratio. So loss of faith and lack of growth has led to stagnation that even breeding changes can no longer fix. Okay, so there's been many solutions proposed, but let's look at this one. This is the one that you brought up to me, which was to cut the PvE and daily quest earnings to 0. Okay, wow, that is a big thought. This will immediately reduce the daily minted supply and is a drastic solution fit for a difficult time. Many players will leave. This is okay. Skilled players and people who enjoy the game will stick around, plus earn more. Wow, that's kind of controversial. Theban, take it away. What are your thoughts? I mean, this is essentially your own thoughts, because you were telling me about this right before this tweet dropped. Yeah. And why do you feel like this is potentially a good idea?
So I just want to say, like, I have a lot of respect for AK, and I have a lot of respect for him for this tweet that he made out. It's very well thought out, and he gave great explanations to it. Like, most of the information is already there. As he said earlier in this tweet, almost 75% of SLP comes from adventure mode. And the thing is, not all that SLP coming from adventure mode is actually by humans. A lot of it is by bots, and it's it's going to be a fight forever. Like, you actually can't stop those bots from farming, and they play against pretty much other bots, right? You're not having that human interaction. And I feel like, SLP should be rewarded for you having some sort of, human interaction with another player, whether that's winning in, 2000 MMR, 800 MMR, or even lower than that. So in this idea of making earnings in PvE to 0, it means that SLP will be funneled into other human interaction gameplay, where it's maybe like, something even below 800 MMR now. So recently we saw the change where anyone below 800 MMR is not able to earn any SLP, but that didn't really stop the bots from being able to farm. All they had to do was get a brand new account that is 1200 MMR and just stay in adventure mode only and farm SLP in adventure mode only. Yeah. So because of all this over minting, that 75% that comes from adventure mode, if we can somehow make that come only from the human players, the price of SLP will naturally go up, because there's going to be a lower supply of it, and it was all earned by people.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for me when I think about it, is cutting out the bots that really are able to farm SLP in adventure mode with no problems. And if you're up against a human, it immediately is a huge fix to that problem. We do know that there are going to be some people who are upset, but it's hard to argue the fact that right now mostly everyone is upset because SLP is under 1 penny. So even those playing adventure, they're earning almost nothing right now with the current state. And if it means having to sharpen up in PvP, I think a lot of people will be willing to do that, to have a more juicy reward for the game in the long run. And honestly, it just makes the game better. It makes it more competitive. It makes people more interested in the actual game, not just clicking buttons to breeze through the AI opponent. So we're going to have to see if this happens. Now, we have some more information to look at that came out today in the Discord. Now, these have been screenshotted and tweeted about, and I'm going to go over them now with you. Let's start here. The economic changes that are coming are going to be tough love, tough medicine for the community and economy. We can't live in a dream world anymore where we print hundreds of millions of SLP per day. Wow, that seems like a pretty strong response in terms of trying to figure out if they're going to make a drastic change. What do you think?
I mean, when that tweet came out, I remember Jiho's tweeting something like, there's no free lunch, right? You
Right.
cannot bend the laws of the universe. Like it just doesn't exist. The fact that you can go into adventure mode and collect this SLP. Now, I will say one thing to you, Elijah. This kind of made sense in the very beginning, during its peak, because you needed to get more SLP into the hands of the people so more Axies could be bred. There was a huge demand for Axie because people wanted to play, they wanted to earn, and all that good stuff. But now that the demand is lower, the supply is just way too much, and mainly stemming from this one thing that they had, which was meant just to get SLP to get to the masses. So now
Right.
with what Geos is saying is like, it really feels like adventure is going to be going away. And I'll tell you one more thing, Elijah, like I am also going to feel for those people who rely solely on adventure. I know Axie Infinity is not for everybody in terms of like competition, maybe not a competitive player, but I feel like the way that Sky Mavis is building, there's going to be a place for everybody, especially with land coming around. And I really hope one of the biggest changes that they do make to PvP in the meantime is that they will remove the 800 MMR cap, let people be able to get SLP at any levels. Maybe they keep a cap around like 200 MMR.
Right.
Or something, so that the
Yeah.
bots will all fall down there and they
Yeah.
will not be able to get SLP anymore. I think that's still a smart move. And as long as the bots are no longer farming and most of the SLP is coming from the people, then the price of SLP is going to go up. And this is what I told you before. Would you rather have 100 SLP at like 1 cent, or would you rather have 50 SLP at 3 cents, right? Like that's a huge difference there. And just because you're getting less SLP, it doesn't mean that the value of your SLP is less than if you got more, but the price of the token was lower.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great point. So let's move on to this one from Jiho, which is that there's no way in the short term that we can get SLP burned to 200 million. That will be important long term. We need to rely on issuance reductions, and they need to happen now. Okay, great. That's what we were hoping to hear.
Yeah, I mean, what he's trying to say is that even though they're going to implement some changes, like they won't be able to fix the economy overnight, right? Like there's a lot of issues around SLP for a long time now, for a few months now. And one of the things is it was probably on their radar to move adventure away previously, but they were very hesitant because there's a lot of people who rely on it. But now that they realize, okay, like this is not going to have any quick fixes, nor are the burning mechanisms that they're going to be releasing going to be fast enough, that they need to address the fact that, okay, we're going to need a little bit more time, guys. You're going to need to have patience. Like, even though these changes are going to have huge impacts, it's going to take time for, let's say, the breeders to be able to catch up. They're going to need to have that demand again for breeding. And then obviously they're going to need to throw in 1 or 2 burning mechanisms in there that will also help balance things out.
And we know those are coming, like we've been hinted at, right? So crafting could be one of them. Evolutions can be another one that's on the way. They have those in the pipeline. And I think what's really going to be exciting is once we have all the extra burning mechanisms, we've already seen releasing one form of it, and that's to get the Lunar New Year items. Now, there's going to be other ways to release, right? That's the first option on the list. What if when there's more options, it's like, okay, you can release your Axie for what? To get this reward, this reward, this reward. And that's going to be huge because the more Axies we release, the more we need. More breeding, more burning, right? There's going to be this nice system. I do believe that. But what I'm happy to see is that, hey, right now, issuance reductions, and they need to happen now. It sounds like there's a sense of urgency, which I really appreciate, because we are all here twiddling our fingers going, okay, when is something going to happen? And it feels like that's close.
Yeah. And like you mentioned about the current release system, I feel like that was something very light on the end of Sky Mavis. I think they were just testing the waters, seeing how it works out first, seeing the results, getting some analytics back, and then they're going to be able to fine tune it for the bigger pretty much release mechanic with bigger rewards.
I absolutely agree. Imagine this. Imagine that you release Axies and it gives you some sort of crafting material power up, and then you need to use SLP to activate that power up. Now you're talking about a huge, what is it called? A huge sink, right? Funneling out all of these Axies and SLP and increasing the demand for breeding. And I think that's when we're really going to see some potential fireworks and some rebuilding and stabilizing of the economy. It's definitely something to
I
look
agree.
forward to. All right, so let's wrap up with this final point. Regiho is responding to someone's question, and he alludes that there's some solutions. And these are the 2 points we want to focus on, where he says bringing back some tiny SLP rewards for sub 800 MMR. So he's already thinking about that, and having energy scale more linearly. Let's start with the first one, because I'm not exactly sure how they're going to make energy scaling more linear, but perhaps you might have some ideas on that. But really, this 800 MMR thing. So what do you think? That's kind of what we were just discussing earlier.
I think it's going to be great, because especially if you remove adventure mode, you need a place where people are going to be able to farm SLP. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
Right. As long as you're the one who's clicking some cards and has some idea about the game. I know I said before, not everybody is competitive, but you don't need to be competitive to be able to play a game. It's about effort. It's about time that you invest into learning the game and figuring things out. So I think this is going to be great. As long as there's some kind of SLP rewards, and if SLP price were to go up because we cut out the bot issue and the adventure mode just giving free lunch out, then I can totally see this being a great thing.
Yeah, I'm wondering with the linear scaling of energy, maybe that's going to help players who are in this lower bracket and maybe give them some more usage out of energy and more opportunity, right? And not have to wait 24 hours in between using their energy. That'd be a huge plus. I think that looking out for them, and by them I mean like the people who benefit most from adventure, is really the big thing. And if they can help bridge that gap a little bit, then I think everyone wins in this scenario. And most importantly, we see a healthier future for SLP.
And one more thing, Elijah, I think this is probably the biggest point out of all of this talk of SLP and adventure mode getting cut out and stuff. One thing I noticed is if you cut out adventure mode, this is especially for the scholars out there, by the way. If you cut out adventure mode, then your Axies are no longer tied to the levels in adventure mode. That means your managers can actually take your Axies out and give you new Axies without giving you an excuse for it, right? Because at the moment, people keep the same Axies that they started in the game with because of adventure levels. You don't want to restart that, start grinding all over again, over and over. So you can ask for upgrades for your teams now, especially if you're doing better.
So I think on that note, we're going to wrap this video up. I hope that it was useful for you all in terms of like what could be on the horizon. Clearly, some things are being thought about and taken very seriously. There's a sense of urgency. So we have season 20 on the way. And we do have him say somewhere else. You said you saw him say that these changes will be implemented into the beginning of season 20. So that's really exciting. So whatever they're planning should be here within the, I don't know, next week or two, whenever season 20 arrives. And I am very much looking forward to that. So do you have any final thoughts on this, Theban, before we wrap up?
It's like how AK said, there's going to be a lot of unhappy people and a lot of people who are going to be stopped playing because of it. But we got to understand that this is going to be for the betterment of the entirety of the game. I know a lot of mistakes have been made throughout these past months by Sky Mavis, or if you think they have or they haven't, at the end of the day, we have to look at how to move on in the future, right? Like we need to be strong together. It's a bear market as well right now there, Elijah. And this is where our will is going to be tested.
That's right. That's right.
Let's just get through it.
Absolutely. Got to have thick skin right now, guys, but we are in this together. Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you go subscribe to Theban. I'll leave links to his YouTube in the description below. Follow Meditate Esports on Twitter. That's our guild. We're constantly building right now. Applications are open. Our public Discord is open where you can learn more about how to apply. I'll leave a link to the Discord in the description below as well. And that's going to be it for this video. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.